Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to my brand new spoiler review of episode 2 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Guys, before I get into my spoiler thoughts of this brand new episode 2 of the show, please like this video. That's the best way to support the channel. Leave a thumbs up. Also, please subscribe and ring that bell if you like movie reviews, TV show reviews, and movie rankings. I do all three of those things here on this channel, so please definitely do that. Also, please comment down below your spoiler thoughts of this episode. Did you like this episode better than episode 1? As I'm talking, comment down below. Do you agree with me? Disagree with me? Let me know your predictions for the final 4 weeks of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Now let's get into my review. So I much more preferred this episode than last episode. Now, if you saw my review, I've already done my spoiler review episode 1. Again, spoiler warning once again. If you have not seen episode 1 or you've not seen episode 2, this is spoiler. This episode had a lot more of emotion and a lot of racial stuff was in this episode that I thought really worked for the show. And that starts with, well, we really start with Falcon and Winter Soldier. We start off with John Walker, played by Wyatt Russell, who is playing the new Captain America, John Walker. And he's in his locker room, and he's talking about a lot of similar stuff about how Steve was talking about him becoming Captain America. The idea of he's not sure he can live up to such a mantle. He just wants to do his job in the best way possible. And then we got to see in the trailer where John Walker runs out into the football field, has an interview with Good Morning America. And at first, really, this episode, I was like, wow, I kind of feel bad for John Walker. He seems like a pretty good dude, a good military guy who just got plucked to do this thing. And they showed the highlights of his military, and they ran off a lot of his statistics. Seems like a pretty solid military guy. But we did see Bucky we saw Sam watching the reveal of John Walker being Captain America. Now we got to see John Walker's interview being watched by Bucky this episode. And once he said Steve Rogers is, kind of his brother, Bucky took that obviously super personally. Now him and Sam are going after the Flag Smashers this episode. At least at the beginning of the episode, they go after them. We have Ellen Kellerman, I think is what her name is. I can look that up as well right now. But she is basically the head of the Flag Smashers. We see a really great truck sequence that culminates with really Falcon and Winter Soldier getting their butt kicked by these super serum guys and girls in the Flag Smashers. Yeah, Erin Kellerman, that is her name. They thought she was a hostage. How she wasn't. It was all set up. So they basically beat them up, and then John Walker and his buddies show up, and they start beating them up as well. Falcon and Winter Soldier basically clear out. They get beat up, and Falcon goes underneath the truck to pick up Bucky, which we saw in the trailer. And they have some fun banter really throughout this episode, and even leading up to all these events. The idea of Steve having a plan and Sam not having a particular plan. And just their banter just is so funny. I was just laughing my butt off this entire episode. And then we saw John Walker also lose to these guys. And as Bucky and Sam are having some great dialogue, John Walker says, come on the ride, we've got to talk. And he was just pushing the wrong buttons. Obviously Sam and Bucky don't want to work with this guy. He isn't Captain America, clearly. And obviously because of their personal relationship with Steve. So they have this talk, and John Walker trying to be nice, and then he starts saying some stuff that did not help his act out with the two of them. They get out of the car, they go off. The Flag Smashers escape. They go on a plane. Well, they're getting refuges from a lot of people because a lot of people are quickly loving the Flag Smashers and believing in their cause. So a lot of people's homes are being offered to the Flag Smashers. So they have a lot of places to refuge and get some supplies and all this stuff. So they go on the plane, they escape. That was the Flag Smashers episode. Again, really interesting. The sacrifice for the cause idea also is completely into play as well in this episode. As we came with Bucky and Sam, Bucky says he needs to see someone, and we finally get to see. I was thinking, is he going to go to Zemo right away? Obviously, we know Zemo is the person who ends this episode for us. But I thought he was going to come in a bit early. I thought maybe he was the head of the Flag Smashers, maybe. But we did get to see Isaiah Bradley this episode. And I thought that was one of the best scenes of any MCU thing in a while. It was really moving. and the fact that basically Isaiah Bradley, who really is in the comics patriot, was basically doing a lot of the similar things that Steve Rogers did in the 30s and the 50s and all that type of stuff, but he was never recognized for doing it, for being a hero. He was just put into prison. He was forgotten by society, even though he may have done a lot of, he really was an American hero. And Sam took a lot of personal attack at Bucky because Bucky never told anyone that Isaiah Bradley existed. And Sam was like, we had a black basically a black superhero, a black hero back in the day, and no one knows who he is. Why is that be? And, Isaiah Bradley just wanted to be left alone. He was really tormented, tortured, and he just didn't want to do anything with society after that. And you can see why Bucky was conflicted of telling people about Isaiah Bradley. And then we get the scene where, very obviously authentic, it's sad to say that it's authentic, but we get Sam and Bucky kind of talking to each other, and that's when the police come in, and they're obviously racist. They're just coming in and they keep asking Bucky, is Sam bothering him? Or is this guy bothering him because he's black? And then they're like, oh, you're actually the Falcon, you're okay. And it just showed that it shouldn't matter if Sam is a superhero or just a regular dude to get pulled over by cops for just having a rough conversation with Bucky does not mean that he's a bad person or should be arrested for any reason, because obviously they're racist douchebags who just came there to arrest Sam because he was black, which was obviously super sad. And then you can see Sam kind of has a privilege now that he was an Avenger. He does not have to deal, for the most part, that scene exposed that he doesn't really have to deal with the same things that other black people do in society in this universe, because Sam's a superhero, the cops don't arrest him, they don't torture him or anything like that, because Sam's Falcon, he's in the Avengers, which I thought was great. So Bucky, again, this was really powerful. It really made me think a lot more about the show in a deeper way. And the stuff about race, I think, is something that the MCU has not really touched on that deeply yet. And for me, this definitely hit me the most hard emotionally, race-wise, in the entire MCU. But Bucky gets arrested because Bucky misses his therapy session. And then Bucky and Sam have a therapy session after John Walker gets Bucky out of prison. And they have this session with the therapist. And, obviously the staring contest thing was hilarious. Their banter is hilarious. But Sam's like, we'll never see each other again after this mission. And they were like, cool. And then they had the conversation with John Walker. And John Walker, we got to work together. And Sam's kind of agreeing with him. But then Bucky's like, we can't work with you because John Walker and those guys work for the government. They have boundaries. They have limitations to what they can actually do. Bucky and Sam are like, we're free agents. We can do basically whatever we want to do. So we're just going to do our own separate thing. And then John Walker said, stay out of my way. So I think that was a weird character switch where he just went from being such a nice guy the entire episode to then just being stay out of my way in a really dark voice. I liked Wyatt Russell. It was felt like a complete character shift of the entire episode, but it still worked for me. It did feel kind of off tonally. So that is, and then we get Zemo. We got to talk to Zemo. He knows all of the secrets to Hydra. We kind of have to talk because he's the one who found the Hydra base where they were keeping all the super serum stuff in Civil War. So we need to talk to Zemo in prison. And then we get the shot of Zemo in prison. And that's where we end the episode. I loved this episode. It was nearly perfect for me. It did a lot of things well. It established Sam and Bucky have great dynamic. It's hilarious. You actually got a lot more deeper background on John Walker. And at times you kind of feel bad for John Walker for being put in the situation, but then when he puts on the suit and starts fighting with Sam and Bucky, it feels off, completely off. And Bucky's like, why can't we just take the shield? Because we just can't beat him up and take the shield. I mean, the idea of them being free agents and not having any limitations to Captain America, who really never his whole purpose was not to have limitations, which is why he did not sign the Sokovia Accord. So all that stuff was really great. I cannot wait for 4 more weeks. Sadly, this is not a 9-week or 8-week event like WandaVision is. It is 6, which is really good. And then we get Loki in June. So thank you guys so much. If you want to please like the video, comment, share, subscribe, ring that bell. I'll be doing notifications. And I'll be doing spoiler reviews of this show every Friday for the next month. And 3, 4, 5, 6 coming up here on the channel. Also, I'll do a Netflix movie review later today. Godzilla versus Kong review next week. So stay tuned. That's why I got to ring that bell for notifications. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys in the next one.